All right, welcome to another episode of Rooting for Laundry. I'm your host, Johnny McDonald. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Root for Laundry, as it says on the ticker. This is episode number 33. And since it's episode number 33, we're going to do tribute to number 33, Patrick Ewing, center of the New York Knicks, my favorite player of all time. And we got two great guests, friends, comedians. I've been to games with them. So let's get into it. First guest, you could have seen him on FYI Network and TIDAL. Give it up for my man, Jamie Roberts.
What's good,
What's up, bro?
What's going on with you, brother, man? How's everything?
Everything's good, man. Thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate you.
No doubt. Thanks for having me, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely. Next guest, you could have seen him on AXS TV. Give it up for my man, Elon Altman, or Elon. I keep messing that up. Elon, what's up, bro?
Hey, Johnny.
How you doing, man? Oh, this is dope, man. So we all, I know you guys like through comedy, through talking for a long time, and even going to Knicks games, it's been, a wild ride. And Patrick Ewing, I know, is my favorite player of all time. I'll actually show you my first memory of Ewing. If you remember this, he was on an episode of Webster. So that's my first memory.
I thought that was you. I was about to say
No.
Johnny always has good tickets.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
But this was my but this is my first memory of Patrick Ewing before I really got into basketball and got into the Knicks. So Jamie, I'll ask you first, and then Elon, after Jamie goes, you can go. What's your first memory of Patrick Ewing, Jamie?
Patrick Ewing. My first memory of Patrick Ewing was probably the year Mark Jackson got drafted, and those guys.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Those guys started. Mark Jackson started hooking Patrick Ewing up left and right.
Yeah,
and he started to really shine. Like he really put his stamp on the NBA. Like he was here. He wasn't playing any more games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I started really getting into who Patrick Ewing was. I was like, oh, word, he's West Indian too? Get out of here. I'm West Indian.
Jamaican.
And I was like, this is Jamaican playing in the NBA? Are you serious? So, it was a lot. It was a lot. Growing up in Amityville, we have it's a large West Indian community. So there was a lot of pride in Patrick Ewing. The fact that he was playing, especially he's playing for the Knicks. New York is like little Jamaica within itself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it was great, man. It was great. And ever since then, he made me become a Knicks fan. And then I started doing my history, and I learned about Walt. I learned about all these other great Knicks before him, and then I just took over. And I hate to say that I'm still a Knicks fan.
Yeah, I think we all do. We all do.
Yeah, but that was my first real introduction to Patrick Ewing was via Mark Jackson.
Dope, man. All right, Elon, what's your first memory of Patrick Ewing?
First, I went to a Knicks game in the 90-91 season. So I was 7 years old or 6 or something. And I don't remember too much except the lady who was singing the national anthem forgot the words. So that was my main takeaway. But my dad always taught me oh, this is Patrick Ewing. He's the big star for the Knicks. But it wasn't until the next season, 91-92, where I started watching every single Knicks game every single night. And he just became my hero because he was just larger than life. That was the era of these big NBA centers. And if you were over 7 feet tall, especially for me, because I was 3 feet tall at the time, it was just unreal that these people could be real people in the world. And he just seemed like a superhero to me.
Yeah, that's so true. And then 91-92 season was a best, because that was a turning point, and that's what I'll start with the memories from that season, because Pat Riley becomes a head coach, and that's big. When Pat Riley got here, it changed everything. The culture of the team. I mean, even though they were losing, with you in the beginning, they were getting better, but they never had Pitino was a coach, and then Stu Jackson. It was a revolving door a bit. And then once Pat Riley came in, and I heard the announcement that Pat Riley was coming in, I was like, oh shit, it's gonna be fun times. And that team was good.
It's real.
Yeah, we had they signed Xavier McDaniel that year, and they brought in Anthony Mason. Starks was there before. Yep, Starks was there before that. You know, the year before, but this whole team came together. It was Ewing, Jackson, Starks, Mason, X-Man, Oak was just thugging people out, and then they played that legendary series 7 games with the Bulls. Jamie, I'll start with you. Talk about, I guess, Pat Riley coming in and them taking the world champs to 7 games. That was a hard-fought series that year.
Well, when Pat, like you were saying before, when Pat Riley came, it kind of legitimized who the Knicks were. You know what I mean? Because now you're bringing in a coach who knows how to win, and he has the pieces to win. And then they came up with the whole no layup rule. You can't come through here with layup. It was full-on shivers. I mean, you had to go through Oakley to get to Mason, and then when you got through Mason, you had to see Xavier McDaniels. You remember Xavier McDaniels had Scottie Pippen in his back pocket? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. That was a turning factor. Yeah.
He owned his ass, man.
Yeah.
And I think once that, even though he lost, that gave me pride in like, yo, we're not playing games anymore. You know what I mean? We're here, and we're not going to be walked over. So what? You got the best player in the world, Michael Jordan. But still, you know what I mean? We're not going to just lay down and be beat and just take the ass whooping, So, it kind of legitimized who we were. And Pat Riley, slick back here, the dude was everything you needed to have as a coach for New York.
Yeah.
I don't think we've gotten that back. We've come close with Van Gundy, but besides that, we haven't gotten back.
No, there's definitely no. We've been a revolving door of coaches. But Alon, I'll ask you, when Pat Riley came in and that 7-game series, just talk about, I guess these guys. Pat Riley came from Showtime Lakers, is fast paced, Magic, behind the back passes, Kareem, all the a lot of finesse guys. Where he came to New York and just changed the style. It's like, all right, we're gonna whoop somebody's ass, like Jamie said. Talk about that philosophy, how he.
Yeah, I mean that was the best thing about being a Knicks fan, because as a New Yorker, growing up in the city and everything, you love that they had this tough reputation. If they came and started doing some finesse Showtime Lakers stuff, it wouldn't have felt like New York. I feel like you need to have that that hard nosed thing where you have Charles Oakley flying into the stands after every loose ball, and Anthony Mason just even when he's not playing the game, he's at the China Club throwing people out of windows or whatever he's doing. I love that. Everything about the team was just hard ass. And and in those Bulls series always had big fights going on in them.
They didn't take it. Yeah,
the Knicks always got into stupid fights in the playoffs.
Yep.
Wasn't that the series that Greg Anthony ran off the bench? Is that the series?
That was a regular season game.
That was a regular game season. I think it was around Christmas. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, and his street clothes. In a paisley shirt. Yeah. That's when the paisley shirt.
The shirt on.
That's what things were crazy, man. But that 92 team was the first successful year, in a little while, and the consistency of 92 was just they lost. They came close to the Bulls in 7. That was the Eastern Conference semis, but they lost. And then the Dream Team, Patrick Ewing goes to the Dream Team, and Boston, they win gold. Talk about that whole experience. I'll start with Alon first. Talk about just watching the Dream Team that summer. We had an extension of the NBA for that year.
Yeah, I was just so proud that Patrick Ewing was there. Everything about him, it was the Knicks are my favorite team, of course, but anything that Ewing did that was awesome. I like that almost as much. If he had a good game and the Knicks lost, I would still take that as kind of a win because he had a good game. But so seeing him on the Dream Team, there's only 12 guys selected. He made that team. It just felt so good. And then I loved seeing those stories about how him and Larry Bird were friends, because that was weird.
Yeah, all of them, him, Jordan, Magic, they were all close. Even before.
Yeah, I just like that he was being accepted into the superstar level with everybody else. That he belonged there with Jordan and these guys.
Yeah, Jamie, what are your thoughts on the Dream Team and Ewing getting gold?
Well, yeah, when Ewing went, I was hoping he would come back with the winning mentality. You know what I mean? Because you're around these stars, so it's got to rub off on you, right? It's got to rub off on you somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Bring that back to the Knicks, man. But if you look at it, like those days, if they had those dream teams now, which they do, those are open markets to recruit, other players in the NBA. You know what I mean? So
now it
imagine
was.
if he went to the dream team, back then, and he was trying to get Bird or Magic to come and play for the Knicks. You know what I mean? That'd have been crazy. So,
But that wasn't the mentality back then.
I don't know if you remember. No, it wasn't. It wasn't, man.
Yeah, they was like, no, I'm gonna beat you. Ewing used to always tell Jordan, is like, I'm gonna beat you with the team I have. I'm not going to. No, you're not gonna negotiate a contract to come here or blah 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 blah. We're gonna stay on our teams, or unless they're really really bad. And then but for the most part, they just stayed with their teams.
Right. That was the Olympics when they had all the cups at the McDonald's. I don't know if y'all remember those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that was one of. I remember the Dream Team jerseys, and like it was such a fun time because everybody had like Ewing wore number 6 and Scotty wore number 8, and all these, like, it was hard. Like if you go to like Modell's or something to find those Dream Team jerseys, like the cheap ones, the champion ones for like $20-$30. It was just like, it was like a scavenger hunt. Like people, like I had a friend who was like, I can't find Barkley. I went to every Modell's and can't find Barkley. Right. So it was like a scavenger hunt. Like people were like literally collecting those champion jerseys. So that was fun time. And the Knicks like came back on the winning, because the next year after 92-93, that's when they made those big moves. They got they added like Rolando Blackman, Doc Rivers, and Charles Smith, and they lose. Then they lose Mark Jackson and X-Man, who's we probably shouldn't. This is gonna be a lot of heartache in this on this episode. But X-Man leaves like after 1 year, which is kind of shocking. But I guess they were making so many moves that X-Man was like, all right, Boston offered me this deal. So like this squad is actually good. They win 60 games and they go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals against Chicago again. And then that series, the Knicks do good against the Bulls, tied at 2, and then Game 5, that the infamous Charles Smith game. I guess Jamie, I'll start with you first. Talk about, I guess, that the success of the game.
Pump fake, man. Man.
4 times. It was 4 times. It was a hard year.
You know what was so hard to swallow is because, like Elon was saying, the Knicks aura was such, we are tough. You know what I mean? We're going to get this done. And then you got a guy pump faking and getting blocked over and over again. Like, dude, go, I'm strong. Go, dude, come on. You know what I mean? I mean, like, are you serious? And it was so heartbreaking because you saw the air leave the garden. You know what I mean? All for that. It was just like the air was just let out of the garden altogether. I was like, yo, dude, we got to get rid of this guy. I don't know how we got to get rid of this guy before.
And the thing was,
we could trade him before the press conference.
And the thing is, Game 6 was in Chicago, which kind of sucked. I mean, Knicks had number 1 seed home court throughout the playoffs. But Game 6 was in Chicago, so you knew they're probably not going to win that game. Elon, I'll start. Talk about your memories of the Charles Smith game and what could have been.
Well, I mean, the worst part is I think we were up 2-0 in the series. So,
yeah, we were. Yep.
You're like, this is it. This is our year. We had a better record than the Bulls, I think. They
were number 1 seed. Yeah, 60 games. That's the most games the Knicks ever won in a regular season. So they're like, this team was destined to really take the Bulls after the year prior.
Yeah, we had 3 All-Stars. Oakley and Starks made the team that year. Everything was like set up for this being the year, and then Charles Smith. I mean, he probably was fouled. I think Dick Clavetta or whoever should have called something there. Down low, you're pump faking 50 times. You're getting slapped on the arm a couple times. Call the foul. Come on.
Yeah, I remember I was watching it. Starks drives. He fakes. He like jumps to the air, fakes the pass to Ewing. Ewing falls down, and then Charles Smith happens to get the ball, and then 4 blocks. All the Bulls swarmed around him because they knew, he couldn't pass it out.
Are y'all hearing that feedback?
I'm hearing.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I thought that was my mic. Whose mic is that? Is that you, Johnny?
No, that's not me.
Not me.
All right. I'm sorry, because it was
it's all good.
popping in my ear. I didn't think you were up there.
Yeah, no, it wasn't me. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that Charles Smith, yeah, that Charles Smith game, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a tough, yeah, the Knicks end up yeah, they lose by a point, and then yeah, it's over. Like the Knicks season 93 doesn't happen. But 94, it's the same team, same coach. The only big change is Doc Rivers, I remember, got hurt in the middle of the season in mid-December, and then they get Derek Harper, which is a big deal. So Derek Harper comes in, yeah, who I love Derek Harper, and then that year the Knicks, yeah, that team goes all the way to the finals, and they play. It was a hard series, hard playoffs because they beat the Nets 3-1 the first round. Second round, they beat the Bulls in 7 with no Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's retired. But then there's that controversial game. Yeah, with Pippen gets fouled, and that could have changed the tide of that series.
When they call the foul on the 3-point shot.
Yeah, and that could have changed the tide. Like, if Pippen got that foul call on him, then the Bulls might have won, and then the Knicks might not be there again.
Then also you had the Kukoc game in that series.
Yeah, where Pippen refused to come out. Yeah,
that's right.
That's actually one of my favorite. Talking about Patrick Ewing, and he has so many underrated performances, and that game gets totally lost because the Knicks lost that game. But that game is crazy. I was rewatching it earlier today to prepare for this, and this is how nuts that game was. The Knicks were down 20 points in the fourth quarter, right? They're down 8 with 2 minutes left, and then Ewing scores 10 points in the final 2 minutes to bring the Knicks all the way back, and then we lose on that stupid last-second shot. But, that's an incredible performance right there by an all-time great. 10 points in 2 minutes. That's like that McGrady game where he scored 13 in 30 seconds. I put that up there.
I remember that. I remember that. That was a great game.
But similar. But no one thinks about that because we lost the game, but that was another heroic performance by Patrick Ewing.
Yep. And then they beat the Bulls, and then the Pacers series was hard fought because that's when Reggie Miller went off on I think it was game 4, where he's just losing his mind and doing the Spike Lee.
25 points in the fourth quarter game.
Yeah. So that series was.
If you read his lips during that. If you read his lips, Reggie Miller's lips when he was talking to Spike Lee on the sideline, oh my God!
Yeah,
he was letting him have it, man.
I think he said something about his wife too, or something. He was like, "Hey."
Did he?
I think he did say something about his wife. Yeah, I remember watching the Reggie Miller versus the Knicks doc, and I think he did say something, and it was crazy. But then they get to the finals against Houston, and I was like, "Yo, this is it. We're gonna win." So Jamie, I'll start with you. Talk about that Houston series, how close that was, because it was 7 whole games. Every matchup, you had Akeem, Ewing versus Akeem, 2 Hall of Fame centers. You have, I think, Starks and Vernon Maxwell, Kenny Smith, Derek Harper. Every player was like a mirror image of every Oakley and all. Every player was a mirror image of each other. So I guess talk about that whole 7 games, and then talk about, I guess, the heartbreak. I remember game 6 with Starks getting blocked by Akeem, and then game 7.
Game 7. Put Hubie in the game, man. Put Hubert Davis in the game.
Yeah, a lot of people like the Starks had to. Yeah.
He was horrible. Starks,
yeah,
the Starks is my guy, man. I had
Starks was everybody's guy
all throughout college. You know what I mean? He was a hard worker. He came from bagging groceries to the NBA. Yep. Come on, who doesn't love that Starks,
guy?
Right? But give Hubert Davis a chance, man. That's what he came here to do, was to shoot. You know what I mean? They brought Hubert Davis to shoot. Hubie, he did not get the opportunity in that game, and I think that tore me to pieces. Patrick Ewing, you can't deny the job him. I mean, the performance between him and Akeem Olajuwon put on, because it was beast against beast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Akeem was on another level.
They equal out each other. That's where the Dream Shake showed you the real.
Yeah, I'd never seen that before. I was like, where did this come from? Yeah,
it shows you how dynamic of a center he was. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't just a regular post-up center. He would hit you with the fadeaway, the up and under, the passing. He had all the keys to being a great center, Hakeem Olajuwon. But Patrick Ewing was all reliable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The entire series, you could ride his back. And then they just kept letting Starks shoot. I'm like, what the going on, man?
Yeah. Alon talked about, I guess, about
Anyway.
that series and the game 6 where Starks get partially blocked by Hakeem, could have hit a 3-pointer to win the series, and game 7 with Starks' performance.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were up 3-2. It felt like it was destiny. You know, all you gotta do is win one of those last 2 games, and it's you're in. And then not to mention, like, the Rangers were doing the same thing in their series.
It was,
so
94 was a remarkable year.
On both teams. Everything was happening. It was all so good, and then man, Starks just went cold. Just totally. Yeah. It's and then then you have Sam Cassell, like some no-name.
Yeah, Sam Cassell was mentioned. I think it was like game 4, he had a hot game too. He came out of
those
nowhere.
Rockets, man.
Yeah,
I hated Cassell. I hated Vernon Maxwell.
Oh
man, and then it just sucked. It was a really
Vernon
hard
Maxwell
series.
was shooting from the parking lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was a heartbreaking too. So
from the parking lot, man.
Yeah.
I cried after that one for sure.
Yeah, I think I was watching on TV and I threw the TV on the floor. That's when like a 12-inch was big. I was like,
wasn't that the series that OJ, the OJ chase?
Yes. OJ, I think was game 3. I want to say
it was a game we lost. I know it was a game.
Yeah, it was game 3. It was game 3. I remember. Like I said, I was at my prom, and at the prom, I recorded it. At home, VHS, where you had to do record it and make sure nobody tell your parents don't change the channel, please, if they're not watching the game. I think my father was watching it anyway, so I was like, all right, it'll be on, blah blah blah. And then I came home and watched it, and all I just see is the white Bronco. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? And then that's what that game is known for. OJ just driving around, and then and if it was now, another, we have so many channels now that wouldn't have happened. But we had to go live the OJ driving all over the damn place. So yep. So that the finals Knicks failed to win the finals, lose to Houston in 7s, was so close. And then the next year, same team, Knicks win 55 games, and then they get to the second round, Eastern Conference Semifinals against the Pacers again, who become like a nemesis. And that's game 1 is the infamous Reggie Miller 7 points in 9 seconds. What is it?
8 points.
8 points. It's one of the most heartbreaking things. Jamie, talk about we'll talk about game 1 and just
we can't. He didn't push him. First of all, he didn't push him to the ground. He nudged him, but he shouldn't have. I think it was Greg Anthony. He nudged him, but he shouldn't have fell the way he fell.
I know Mason was on an inbound pass. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But then again, it all comes down to being prepared in the moment. You got to know how to diffuse the bomb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can't call a timeout, figure it out. Figure something out, man. You don't let a guy go off like that in your hometown, in your house. In your house.
I don't think you'll ever see anything like that.
Right. Reggie Miller is probably one, he is one of the best shooters that we've ever seen, especially against the Knicks anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a point in time where I will never forget what, they say, there's certain things in sports you'll never forget. That is one of the things I will never forget. Reggie Miller torching
nobody.
us.
Yeah.
And what was it? Yeah. In 8 seconds or something like that?
Yeah. 9 points. Yeah. It's just crazy. Elon, talk about your memories, Elon, of that game 1 and just
it happened so fast. You were like, wait, what did that can't be real. What just happened? Like the team just lost their composure. Like Jenny was saying, Mason throwing in that inbounds pass after Anthony had already fallen down. He kind of had that moment where he could have not thrown that pass yet, but he just did it. He knew he was throwing it right to Reggie Miller, and then the next play, the Knicks had the ball, and they got. I don't know. I feel like there were some fouls that were not called. I'm just always going to say that. The refs
You're
screwed us
watching
again.
basketball now. That's why they're not. They weren't calling those fouls back then.
Yeah, they weren't calling any. Yeah, people were dying in the middle of the floor.
Man, Reggie, like when he got pissed, like he just couldn't miss. You knew he was gonna hurt you, and that was one of those moments where he just took the moment.
Yeah.
And before the Knicks knew what happened, it was over.
Yeah, and game one basically set the tone because it went to seven games. You know what I'm saying? And then you have that Knicks were down 3-1. You
Finger
know
up.
what I'm saying? Yeah, and then they come back, they roar back and bring it to 7. And then the final seconds of that game, Ewing drives to the basket, and then that finger roll. Very
All he
heartbreaking.
had to do was turn it over, man.
Yeah.
I always defend Ewing there. I always tell people I think he couldn't have gone for the dunk. I think he had to go for the finger roll there. I thought he was a little too far. If he tried to dunk it, I think he wouldn't have gotten there. And, you know, he didn't have big hands. It was hard for him to palm the ball. So
I'll
I'll always defend Patrick Ewing.
Well, you know, we can defend the fact that he walked during that last play that he didn't call it. You know what I mean? He traveled. If you're going to travel, at least dunk the ball. You know what I mean? He took 2 extra steps and still was short from the rim. I'm like, yo, dude. But it was heartbreaking, man. And that's when it really started to kick in. Like, you know, this is what it's going to be to be a Knicks fan. You know what I mean? You're going to be so close. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be ready to close on a house. And, you know, the recession hits. You know what I mean? It's going to be that. It's going to be that type of fandom for this team. And, you know, I wear Nick. I don't even wear a Knicks jersey anymore. As you can see, I just got a tank top on me.
Yeah,
I refuse to invest in the team anymore. I refuse to invest in the team, man. But you know, it's just another instance of how heartbroken, how heartache it is to be a fan. You know, this is another example of it.
Yeah, and that's when the snowball effect happened, because after that, Pat Riley resigned. He's like, I'm out. Then he leaves to go to Miami, and then they hire Don Nelson for that season. And then Don Nelson doesn't even last. They fire him like mid-season. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's kind of this, like the same thing.
He turned Mason into a point guard. That's why.
I remember that. He's like, I do remember that. Yeah. Mason was the 6th man, and then they put Mason in the start lineup. They put Charles Smith on the bench, and it was just weird. It was just a team that, you know, it definitely wasn't the same. You saw they were vulnerable. They didn't have that aura, like, you know, like that thugged out aura. John Nelson kind of, you could tell Pat Riley leaving was like, you know what I'm saying? It was definitely not the same. And then Jeff Van Gundy takes over mid-season, so Jeff Van Gundy's now the coach, and they win like only 47 games, and they lose to the Bulls in 5. And that year, you see the window closing for Patrick. You're like, oh my God, I don't think he's going to win one, and I don't think the Knicks are going to win one. Like, talk about that feeling. Jamie, I'll start with you.
Well, it's kind of like you never want to see your hero lose or retire. You know what I mean? You don't want to see him just hang it up, because it never really sets in that eventually he's going to have to retire. You know, he's not going to be able to perform on this level constantly, especially back in those days. You know, those guys was getting beat up. That wasn't the season he broke his wrist. It was like
not yet.
Right. And then it's just like you see him breaking down, though. You know, it's like more pads he's wearing at the free throw line.
The pads, you know what I mean? Sweating. Everywhere.
All of it is just starting to like accumulate. You know what I mean? Oh, he's the last one to get off the bench when the timeout is being called. You know what I mean? You start seeing it, and then you start realizing, like, wow, who's going to take the torch and run with it now? You know, who's going to be the next Patrick? And you know, it's hard. It was hard to digest.
Yep. Elon, talk about, I guess, that season with Jeff Van Gundy, you know, the mid, and then losing to the Bulls in 5.
Yeah, I mean, well, first, you know, like you're saying, Don Nelson comes in, just changes everything. And I think the problem was that, like, he took the focus off of Ewing. And I love Mason. He was like my favorite player besides Ewing back then. But it just, you know, Ewing needed to be the guy. And changing up the chemistry of the team like that obviously didn't go over well. But then, you know, Van Gundy taking over, the Knicks beat the Bulls. That was the 72-win Bulls season.
Yeah,
The Knicks took
not
one
gonna
off
be.
the Bulls there, and that was really
Yeah.
exciting.
I was at that game. That was like one of the first, like, to see Michael Jordan was like, holy moly. You know what I'm saying? It was just you were in awe of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, I remember, hit the game tying shot to take it into overtime. And Starks had a good game that year. I think that game. I think he had 30 or something like that. He had a good game. But other than that, you weren't beating that 72 win Bull team. That was
Yeah. Then meeting them in the playoffs, even taking another game off of them, even going to 5 against that team felt like a win. It felt like, okay, we got
yeah.
Even I'm the biggest homer in the world. I didn't think we could beat those Bulls.
Yeah, absolutely. But
So I was like, all right, we didn't get swept. Good for us.
Yeah, true. And then the following year, they make the big changes. You trade Mason for Larry Johnson, and then they sign Allen Houston, Chris Childs. And this team is good, man. This team is really, really good. Starks comes off the bench again. He's a 6-man again. So you have a lot of weapons with that team. And Ewing, like, one thing that they always said, Ewing really never had any help, like, on offense. You know what I'm saying? Starks was good, but he wasn't good enough. But now you have weapons. You have, even though LJ, the reason the trade was so easily made, because, LJ's coming off that broken back. He's not the grandmama dunk guy. He's more of a, mid-range shooter, maybe could drive here and there, but it's not the same Larry Johnson. But it was a good team. They won they went over 50 games. So
they got 57 that year.
Yeah, 57. Yeah, they won a lot of games under Jeff Van Gundy. And Ewing gets named to that. They had the 50th anniversary, so he's named 50th greatest players. So and they go to the Eastern Conference Finals with game 5. That game 5 in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat. That's when the brawl happens. Which was so unfortunate when Charlie Ward and PJ Brown. Even before that, I think Zoe and Oak got into it a little bit. That was a war. Talk about Jamie. I'll start with you. Talk about, I guess, that team and that series and that brawl that kind of messed everything up.
Do we even know where the beef started with Miami? How did that start? Because Miami just came out of nowhere. Huh?
Well, Riley because Riley went to Miami, so that Riley kind of like, all right, screw that guy. But it got bigger once because Miami was becoming that super with Tim Hardaway, Zoe, and PJ Brown, and I think Mashburn was there too. You know what I'm saying? So,
but still, Miami came out of nowhere. They became like our foe, our villain,
our new nemesis.
Like
they took the place of the Yeah, it was the Bulls, Pacers, and now the Heat.
And the Pacers. Right.
Now
where
the Heat.
The hell did he come from? Just because Riley's there now?
Yeah.
But they were good. Like
they were good. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Tim Hardaway's putting on great numbers there. Zoe
was like a younger Ewing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you want to go to the same Georgetown?
Yeah, protege. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? They used to work out together during the summers. You know what I mean? So it was like, wow, how the hell did we get into this dog fight with Miami? And it really came down to Charlie Ward, the Christian man that he is, going to blows with PJ Brown.
Flipped them all like the first row. He just tossed them.
He got some good leverage underneath there. Flipped them.
Literally flipped them.
Bible pages went flying everywhere. Collection plates. I'm like, but that's what it came
after that game.
Yeah.
Right. There was no press.
Circle after that.
But that's wasn't that the time when Van Gundy was a jockey on his leg when he was like
no, that was the year after. That was a couple of years after. That was a couple of years after. Couple of years after.
Miami
but that's when it started. Yeah, that was the first of many brawls between Miami and New York.
But you know what that also did though? That showed us that we had our swagger back, because I don't think if we had Don Nelson as a coach, that brawl would have got to that level. You know what I mean? Because Van Gundy came back in and he put the enforcement back into the Knicks. He put that fear back into the Knicks
because he coached under Riley. Like, he was a Riley guy.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, we're going to play defense and we're going to play defense well. The offense will come, but it'll be a result of the defense. And you know, I think that demeanor of tough, we're not playing anymore, and you saw it. I mean, it spread all the way down to Charlie Ward. It spread all the way down to Charlie Ward.
You sacrificed
Charlie,
it.
Yeah.
Talk about Game 5, Elon, when Ward got flipped and it started. It really, the suspensions were bad too. I'll name the suspensions real quick. PJ Brown got 2 games. Ewing, everybody on the Knicks, there are 5 Knicks suspended and they got 1 game each. But what sucked is
Ewing got 2.
No, everybody from the Knicks got 1 for coming off the bench. Ward, Ewing, Houston were suspended for Game 6 because you can't suspend all 5 in one game because now you don't have any players. So Ward, Ewing, and Houston were suspended for Game 6. LJ and Starks was suspended for Game 7. So it just sucks, and we were up 3-1. So Elon, talk about, I guess, you know, the game and then how it took the air out of that series.
Yeah, like it was bad. It was really bad. This rule, it's just like, look, I understand there are rules sometimes. Like, look, this is on the books if you leave the bench area, but none of those guys were trying to enter the fight. They were just trying to like get a little closer to see what was happening. There was clearly something big happening. So like David Stern or Rod Thorne, you know, the enforcer has to like say, listen, we know what the rule is, but this is the playoffs. This is very important. And like, we're not going to suspend these guys. We'll fine them or something like that. Or we'll suspend them for the regular season, you know, when that starts up again. To knock out every good player on the Knicks and then also PJ Brown, like who gives a fuck? What a trade-off for Miami to lose PJ Brown and we lose all 5 of our best players.
What players? It wasn't like it was John Wallace or Walter McCarty. It was the starting 5 basically. We lost all those guys. I forgot
those guys was even on the team.
Our great rookies that year.
So we lost the core, and then like we lost the series up 3-1. Miami takes it in 7. So it freaking sucks. So I'll fast forward to the next year. That's where Jamie was December 20th, 1997 is basically the beginning of the end for Patrick Ewing as he hurts his wrist in a game against the Bucks in Milwaukee. He goes up for the layup. Andrew Lang, the center for the Bucks, he really just tries to defend him, and he comes down on his wrist, torn ligaments everywhere, out for the rest of the season. The Knicks only win 43 games, so you could tell the impact Ewing had on that team. So, Jamie, when you heard that news, because I know I was devastated. How did you feel about that? Losing Ewing for the rest of the year. Yeah,
it's over. You know what I mean? It's over. Who's going to fill his shoes? And it was hard because people come to the Garden to see Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? It's Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks. Don't get it twisted. Yeah. That's what it is. It's Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks. If Patrick Ewing's not playing, he's in a suit. Why the hell are we in the Garden? That's what I don't know. Why are we? You know what I mean? And it was a throwaway season. I hate to say it like that, but after he went down, it was just like, oh man, why are we? It also
sucks because the All-Star game was in New York, and if Ewing was still playing, I think Ewing goes to that All-Star game. The Knicks didn't have any reps on that All-Star game, so Elon, talk about that. I guess the Ewing injury.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I can still picture in my mind the way he's like writhing on the ground in pain.
Yeah,
after he lands on that wrist, I hate it, man. And it was so bad because like besides his rookie year when he only played 50 games, like he never got injured. He was always hurt, but he always played through it. But he was really durable. He like never missed games. And then all of a sudden, like that's his first major injury, and that's when like Jamie said, like that's kind of the beginning of the end there, where like okay, he's getting old, and like this isn't gonna last forever. And what's left on the team without him? Like Allen Houston can't carry this team by himself, and it's just really shocking and sad. And then you think, okay, well, we have a bad season. At least we'll get a slightly better draft pick than normal. And then the Knicks pass on Ron Artest.
Oh man,
advice. Idiots. They're so stupid all the time. That was the chance. You say, okay, we hurt our wrist, but we get Ron Artest, but they don't do it.
Frederick Weiss, the guy that got dunked on by Vince Carter.
Never played in the NBA.
Never even played in the league.
Oh God, Jesus Christ! I forgot about that guy, man.
That was heartbreaking.
Oh.
That 90 where he's out for the rest of the year. They play Miami in the first round and they take him to they actually beat him in 5 games, and that's the year Jamie was alluding to where Jeff Van Gundy's dangling off Zoe's leg, breaking up the fight between him and Larry Johnson. So that was the year where he's just one of the funniest moments ever. And then Ewing, they go to the next round against the Pacers, and Ewing returns for game 2, but it's just not enough. The Knicks losing 5 to the Pacers. So I guess we could talk about, Jeff Van Gundy hanging off. What was your reaction seeing that pile? Elon, I'll start with you. What was your reaction seeing that pile? Just Van Gundy just
opposite of the reaction I had to the PJ Brown Charlie Ward fight. I was like, this is great. This is awesome. I love that the coach got in there to scrap with them, just like Riley did in that Greg Anthony fight a few years earlier. He had his Armani suit. He got in there and got it messed up a little bit. And then Van Gundy did the same thing with his Kmart suit. And he came out and his hair was like, his comb over was messed up and he was all disheveled. But it was great. He's this little wimpy guy, but he totally stick up for his guys. He always did that whenever there was a fight. There was another one a couple years later where I think Candy went for a punch and hit Van Gundy in the head instead.
Oh yeah, I remember. What's the name? It was Martin Luther King Day. I think it was Danny Ferry. It was Danny Ferry.
On MLK Day.
And then Van Gundy, he was Van Gundy was a real one, man. JB, I guess talk about there. You just see Jeff Van Gundy just hanging on Zoe's leg.
Well, like Elon was saying, you need a coach like that. You need somebody who's going to stick up for their players, who's not ashamed or afraid to mix it up, to protect his players. But I think he understood, like, listen, we can't do this again. This is how we lost the last time. You know what I mean? So he went out there and was just like, oh, we can't do this. We can't do this. But it showed leadership. It showed him hanging on a leg. If you can say that, it showed leadership as a coach.
It was an example, leadership by example.
Yeah, he was leading by example. But
Yeah. So the Knicks are out, like losing 5 to Indiana that year, and then the next year, the lockout year, which is a legendary season. The 50-game season, different team. Starks and Oakley are gone, and then Sprewell and Marcus Camby come in. Jamie, I'll start with you. Talk with when that changed, like Starks and Oakley, who are our favorites, been here for a long time. Now you get Sprewell, who is most known now. It wasn't an all-star, but like known now, choking his coach. And then Marcus Camby, who's like kind of unproven. JB, I'll start with you first, and then Elon, you could go.
The thing about Sprewell, and I was excited that we got Sprewell, right? The thing about Sprewell was that he was always on SportsCenter. He always had a highlight. You know what I mean? Like, we're getting this guy. This guy's coming to the Knicks. He always had a highlight, whether it was dunking backwards, whatever he was doing, because he was in Golden State, so their games were later, and we would always see his highlights later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when he came, he had the cornrows, and he kind of fit New York. He fit
definitely
New York
did
to a T. And he was hard-nosed. He was about his defense, steals, breakaway dunks. It was great, man. And then to see Camby to actually come into his own, this is when New York really got hyped. It was like, we got a new Patrick. You remember? We got a new Patrick. Sorry, we don't have a new Patrick.
Alon, go ahead.
Talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that was really fun. That was like maybe the most talented team the Knicks had around Ewing, because you had all this
scoring wise. You had
you have Houston and Sprewell, then you got Camby with the defense. Larry Johnson was still pretty good. There was a lot around him, but Ewing got hurt heading into the playoffs that year
again.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate. And then, but that Camby was so good in those first couple rounds. That series against the Hawks.
I remember. They swept the Hawks. They were on on fire. Yeah. So
and then Ewing gave it a go. He came back in the playoffs a little bit, but like he just wasn't himself. And then he couldn't play at all in the finals.
Yeah, Ewing just hobbled that whole season. He only played 38 games of a 50-game season. I mean, that's a lot. But he was like, 1 month he's playing, next couple of weeks he's injured, and they limp into the playoffs as the 8th seed, and then we played Miami again, full 5 games, and the closing second of that game, that legendary Allen Houston shot. Jamie, I'll start with you. Talk about like watching that game and your reaction, because I'll never forget that game.
Wasn't that a humble? Did it hit off the lip?
Basically, yeah, it was about
it went in. Oh man.
Yeah, that shot was up there for like a good hour, basically.
Oh man. But I think that kind of solidified Allen Houston as a go-to guy as well. You know what I mean? Like, all right, well, this guy, he's clutch. Maybe we could lean on him a little bit more. And it was great because it showed fight. It showed that we weren't quitting. It showed that we wanted to win. And it was like everything about. If we would have lost the game, of course, I would have a different opinion. Like, get rid of this guy. But
I think because they were the 8th seed, and they
right. It was everything that we needed.
That shot made a difference. Like, you might dismantle that team after if they would have lost, because they were the first. It was the 8th seed. They barely made it into the playoffs. Elon, I'll go with you. Like, talk about that thing. And would you think the same thing if Allen Houston missed that shot?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. He had this reputation. It was like his 2nd or 3rd year with the Knicks already, of kind of being sort of soft, no one like that. He got that huge contract and he was good, but he wasn't like the next level. That was like the first kind of moment that he had that really made him like a Knick. He had toughness. He was a star. To hit that shot was just incredible. And bouncing on the rim like that, it meant that Miami had like less than a second left for their chance afterwards. So that was really smart. By not just switching the ball. he wasted some more clock. He's a real smart player. But look, it was great to be an 8th seed to beat a 1, just like Denver had done for the first time a few years earlier with Mutombo.
Yeah, with the Sonics,
Yeah, so it was like, but you got to remember, like, this wasn't like an upstart Knicks team that wasn't good. They just were injured a bit. They had a lot of talent, so they were better than the 8th seed. And not to mention playing against Miami, we would always bring it. Yeah. So, that's right. You knew we had a good chance in that series, and it came through.
Yep, and that whole playoff ride, they were like the hottest team because they sweep through Miami, like you said, Elon. They Camby had that hot game, and then they go play Indiana, and Ewing gives it a comeback. But the Eastern Conference Finals game 2, he gets hurt his Achilles, and then you're like, oh man, he gets hurt in game 2. But the legendary moment is the game after, game 3, the Larry Johnson 4-point play, which is one of the most like that whole run with the Houston shot, and now the LJ 4-point play, which is probably one of the greatest moments in Knicks history. Jamie, talk about, I guess, watching that game and just like, how was your reaction when LJ hit the 4-point play?
I couldn't believe it. I don't think he could believe it either. You know what I mean?
Nobody could believe it.
Because
nobody could.
Immediately after, he was like, calm down. I still
yep. But, and I don't think I ever heard the Garden that loud. That's one of those games I like. If I can go back and wish I would have went to, I was like, that would have been one, because the crowd alone was just deafening. And everybody I know that went to that game is like, I think they said that's the loudest they heard the Garden.
Yeah, those are good times, man. It was good times, and it just lets you know these are the moments why we are still Knicks fans, because we cherish these moments. We remember these things. And it brings joy to us, but at the same time, there's misery that comes with that joy because they never won the chip.
Too much. Alon, talk about, I guess, your reaction to the 4-point play.
Well, so I was at my friend's sister's bat mitzvah, so it sucked. I was like, I can't watch this Knicks game, but the venue we were at, there was the party room everyone was at, and then there's a bar. So the whole time, me and my friend would be going back and forth to the TV, checking on it. At one point, the DJ near the end of the game, he wasn't even at the DJ booth anymore. He was just watching the game in the bar. We were all just in the bar, and then the 4-point play happened, and we were all it was like euphoria, It was the best night, the craziest play. I love that they called continuation on that because it clearly was not. Took another step and then shot. What is going on? But that was great. It worked. LJ was doing the L and the J.
Yep, that's when. Yep, they made that a thing. Yeah.
And oh man, just so exciting. It really, I feel like that's what we needed to get back at Indiana for those Reggie Miller games.
Yep. It's funny.
We needed to have one of those devastating wins also.
Yeah. So the Knicks, winning in 6 games to the Pacers. They go to the finals against the Spurs, but Ewing wasn't there, so that it might not be winnable. If I was hoping if Ewing, would you? I guess I'll start with you, Jamie. If Ewing played, would it be a different outcome, or it'd be like, it probably that Duncan and Dave Robinson, you're not stopping that team.
I think it would have been a different outcome. The problem was they had twin towers. We didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
We had like LJ defending Tim Duncan.
Duncan, yeah.
And LJ couldn't jump. He was defending a young Tim Duncan at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he couldn't jump. And then Camby, he was getting abused by David Robinson. You can't expect him to block every shot. He still held his own, but it was just too much. Those two guys, and then with Pop knowing that we didn't have Ewing, what does he do? He abused the fact that we didn't have Ewing.
So
just dump the ball down to Tim and David Robinson. They were playing like pity pat with the ball the entire series because all they had to do was pass it over the top. So
it was.
But it would have been a different outcome if Ewing was there. A totally different outcome.
Yeah. Elon, how do you feel about?
Yeah, I think we just needed size. It was like if we could have gone against any other team, I would say those Knicks had a chance. They were playing hot, but against a team with 2 7-footers, like what? Yeah, like Jamie said, having like LJ trying to defend against Duncan. What's LJ like 6'4"? Like I know he's like 6
on paper, real life he's like 6'4", 6'5",
yeah. And then and Camby, who probably weighed like 200 pounds, like he's a 7-footer, but like come on, man.
They sent Chris Dudley out there. Remember, Chris Dudley had to do.
The only time he hit 2 free throws in a row is when he banked them off the backboard in that one game.
Chris Dudley, Kurt Thomas, they had to step up. It was
crazy eyes, Kurt Thomas, big fan.
Yeah.
So we had a tough team, but size was just hard to get over. But if you look at the box scores, I just pulled it up. Like the last 3 games of that series, game 3 we win. Game 4, we lose by 7, so that was a close one. And game 5, we lost by 1.
Yeah, I remember that. 3 was on the basket. Yeah, I was at that whole series because I remember at the time I got a note from the Knicks. They're like, all right, you can either buy the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals, and I used my whole tax return. At the time, where tickets were like $60 was a lot of money, $60 per game, but I had to buy the whole block. So I took my whole tax return. And just like I'll take them, and that's when there was no internet or you had to call.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, I got this letter. I can either buy the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. I'm thinking they're going to the NBA Finals, so I'm buying for the NBA Finals. And I end up going to games 3, 4, and 5, and it was fun. I mean, it was a great experience. I kind of, in hindsight, I was like, I wish I went to the Eastern Conference Finals because then I would saw the 4-point play live. But whatever. So I got to see David Robinson and Tim Duncan celebrate at the Garden, which sucks ass, but is what it is. So the following season, the 99-2000 season, Ewing still hurt. He misses the first month. He returns at December 10th. Not the same player. You see it dwindling. He's on the decline. He's only averaged 15 points a game that year, the lowest of his Knicks career. And it was still a good team, though. That team wins 50 games. And they're the 3rd seed. They sweep Toronto the first round of the playoffs. Then they beat Miami in 7. And then they Eastern Conference again, game 2 against the Pacers. Ewing sprains his foot in game 2, and he's out 3 and 4. So that year, the 2000 finals, where the Pacers go on to play the Lakers, they lose in 6. I guess talk about that's the final opportunity Patrick Ewing has to go deep in the postseason. So Jamie, talk about, I guess, that final year. And
it was disappointing because he didn't go out standing. You know what I mean? He didn't go out standing up. I'd rather see him fight and lose rather than just sit on the sideline, beat up. Not being able to compete because he was a warrior, And if I'm not mistaken, next year is when they traded him, right?
This is his final Knicks season.
Right. So, it wasn't a good way to go out. I think and he was hurt. You have to understand, he's older. He's been carrying this Knicks team since the 80s. You know what I mean? And you got to really think it's about time. It's about time. But I wish it would have been better though. He wasn't hurt.
Yeah. Alon, talk about, I guess, that final season as Patrick Ewing as a Knick.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to see the decline see someone who's just not their usual self. I had gone to one game the season before, and it was like his last great game. Actually, it was against the Pacers, and he went for 37 and 15. And I was glad that I got to see like one last vintage Ewing performance. But yeah, then the next season in 2000, look, I think honestly, it's kind of like a mercy killing that he didn't have to go into the finals against Shaq.
Oh God!
You know what I mean? Like, what if
I couldn't imagine that one. That might have been like, I don't think. Now there's enough posters with Patrick Ewing getting dunked on. You don't need another one with Shaq just abusing him.
I always hated those matchups against Shaq from like right when Shaq was a rookie.
In Orlando, the size
difference was just so incredible because no one was as big as Shaq back then, and Ewing, was listed at 240 for his career, which nowadays would be like a small forward or maybe even a.
That's true.
Yeah, but, Shaq it was just like if he had to face him in his twilight years in the finals and Shaq's prime, it would have just been really ugly.
Yeah. So that's Ewing's final season as a Knick, and then they trade after 15 years. They make a huge 4-team deal, like 12 players involved, where Ewing ended up going to Seattle, and we get Glenn Rice and Luke Longley. And just a terrible team. And then on February 27, 2001, Patrick Ewing returns as a Sonic to play the Knicks. And this is how it looks. How weird is this? To see Ewing in a Sonics green out of all things. You know what I'm saying? This is one of the weirdest things. I guess talk about the trade, Jamie, and talk about, I guess, seeing Ewing in a Sonic. How weird is that?
The trade was, I still call the trade, it's the curse of Patrick Ewing. That's why the Knicks.
Absolutely. It hasn't been the same. Yep.
Because like we got Glenn Rice, and I even have a joke about it. We traded Patrick Ewing for a plate of oxtails and beef, and rice and peas. We didn't get anything. We didn't get anything for the greatest Knick besides Clyde Frazier. We didn't get anything for Patrick Ewing. We got Glenn Rice. You know what I mean? And the Luke Long. It was like, and they did it like it was a big blockbuster trade. I mean, like, dude, just take him in the back and shoot him. That would have been a lot easier than giving up for Glenn Rice. And at the time, Glenn Rice was hyped. Oh, he's a sharpshooter, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Come on, we don't need that guy. We didn't need him.
And you had a bunch of like same guards, Rice was a taller guard. Yeah, but you had Sprewell in Houston, and I remember even like at some point they were putting Rice at center. I was like, all right, what are you doing here?
How do you play all these guys? Right.
Yeah. Elon, talk about your experience.
Extremely confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of the Knicks now, where we have too many power forwards. Back then, it was like all these guards for some reason. It was disappointing to see him go. I kind of would have liked to maybe see him retire at some point, rather than see him on another team.
Yeah.
But at some point, when a guy like that, he demands like a good contract because of his pedigree, and then like we can't.
He still started every game. I think he started 76 games in Seattle, and ended up. So I mean, he averaged like 9 points a game, but I guess he was some use to that.
Yeah, he was something, but I mean, I don't know.
Definitely not the same.
What I felt like back then about the whole thing, but it was clear that he was like past his prime. It was like
absolutely
the end of an era. It's like that's the end of the Knicks.
Yeah. So that year, the following year, 2000, he goes to Orlando, signs him. So now this is a weird picture right here. He's very big, and he's guarding Hakeem. Who's in the Raptors, which was just totally bizarre world around that time. So and then he plays.
If the Big Three existed back then, they would have just been in the Big Three.
Yeah, right. And that's Ewing's final season. I mean, he has one more game at the Garden where everybody's giving him a standing ovation whenever he touches the ball. Played a couple of minutes, but I remember Doc Rivers, it was the coach at the time, who put Ewing in the game the final season. Everybody's losing their mind. So I guess talk about how weird was that? This is Ewing's final season, Jamie. Talk about how did you feel?
Well, we didn't know it was going to be his final season, but it was fitting that he went to Florida to retire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's where you go when you retire.
Yeah.
But to see him in an Orlando jersey, it was just like, I I didn't mind, you know, but it was kind of like, dude, we can't see you in any other jersey right now. You know, you went to Seattle, now you're in Orlando. As long as you don't wind up in a Heat or a Bulls jersey, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, but it's time to go. You know, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. If you're not coming back to the Knicks, you might as well just hang it up. And it was his. I think he understood like his role was diminishing as a player. So
absolutely,
like, right,
yeah.
You know, it's time for me to go.
Because he didn't even start on that Orlando team. He was just coming off the bench and serving a purpose,
collecting
I guess.
check.
Yeah. Elon, talk about, I guess, that final year, Ewing in Orlando.
Yeah, it was getting sad because he was also putting on all that weight. He didn't even like look good in that jersey.
Yeah.
You could tell this was like the old pudgy Ewing.
Yeah. He wore his Olympic number because Grant Hill had number 33, so he had to wear number 6.
Yeah, again, it's just a total disrespect. Grant Hill should have given him that.
Damn you, Grant Hill.
Yeah. It was sad, and you know you hope that a guy will go out on top in some way. I think his last game he had a decent game in his final NBA game.
Yeah,
he scored.
He went to the
12
playoffs.
points.
I know he went to the playoffs too with Orlando. They made it into the playoffs, so I guess it's somewhat, you know, for whatever it was, you know. So yeah, that's Ewing's playing career, and then 2003 the Knicks retire his number. That's a big deal. You know, he had all his at the Garden, had all his you see all the guys that show, if you watch that retirement game, you see all the guys that showed him love, like Jordan, Barkley was in attendance, like so many superstars were in attendance, and just, you know, I mean, that's all you got. So do you remember that game, Jamie? I guess the retirement game where they retire his number. He's an assistant coach, by the way, on the Magic.
He's an assistant coach on the Magic, right?
Yeah, so he's like, all right.
They did it when he came back to the Garden.
Yeah.
What was special about that? Like you were saying, it was Jordan and Barkley.
Yeah, I was at that game too, so that was a special night
wow.
for me. Yeah,
wow, you're great. Well, you're great, man.
Sorry.
Call me when you go to these games, man. But anyway,
you know I will, bro. You know.
Yeah, the special part about that night was that no matter who you were rooting for, you had to root for Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? You came there, you could have been an Orlando Magic fan, but you had to root for Patrick Ewing that night because you had to respect the body of work that he put in, you know? And men lie, women lie, numbers don't, you know? And he put in the work for the New York Knicks. And it's a shame that, you know, he never really got a fair shake at a coaching job for the Knicks.
Yeah.
You know, I still don't understand how Herb Williams was getting these shots and Patrick Ewing never. How the hell does Herb Williams? Forget about it.
I think it's a Dolan thing.
It's a whole nother show, man. It's a whole nother show.
I guess Alon, talk about Ewing's retirement when they hang his jersey to the rafters.
Yeah, it was real touching. I think it was a real nice moment that everyone was there. Like you said, I probably cried that night also.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad that he came up short, but like he gave his all to the Knicks, and the fans respected that. Even though I know like early in his career they gave him a lot of shit, but like you could see they all came around.
Yeah, it was a love-hate relationship. Yeah, they were talking about, like, I remember like in the beginning when I first started watching the Knicks, like they would, like, Ewing was always rumored to be traded before like Riley got there. So you would always hear like some trade rumor, like, oh, we got to get rid of Ewing and probably trade him for. I remember one time they was like Portland for Clyde Drexler or like Chris Mullin. There was always a rumor there, but like once Riley came in, I think, you know, it corrected all that, and I think he's one of those players now you appreciate him because, you know, it never. Yeah, it never, like, people that I knew hated Ewing, like, you know, now it's like, oh, you know, he wasn't that bad. Of course he was, you know what I'm saying? You guys, and playing in New York, he was like one of the few, him and Melo, that's why I give Melo a lot of credit. He got shitted on a lot here, but he took it, you know? So, like, yeah, I totally give all them credit. So, yeah, I guess after Ewing goes to the Hall of Fame in 2008, and he's an assistant coach in almost every team, the Wizards, Rockets, Magic, Hornets. He's just assistant coach everywhere. And then in 2017, he finally gets a head coach at Georgetown. So now he's a head coach finally somewhere. So I guess, Jamie, how do you feel about him finally get a head coaching job and still have it to this day?
Well, it's far long overdue.
Yeah.
There was always rumors every time there was a Knick opening that, oh yeah, Patrick Ewing's interviewed for the Knicks. We all knew that wasn't going to happen. But it's well deserved, and it's kind of telling because he went back and before, of course, Williams died, he was able to learn from him. And it's I think it's a stepping stone for him to get to the NBA. I think it's a stepping stone for him to coach into the NBA. So we'll see what happens.
Or if anything, if you get great recruits, he could be he could be like a Coach K, or just stay there forever. That's
the thing about Coach K is he started coaching at a younger age. You know what I mean? So
true.
Ewing's got to be what, 50 something, 60 years old.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, 50s, in his 50s. Yeah.
So to start his coaching career now, to stay there forever, you got to start winning some games like yesterday.
Games, yeah.
Because college is competitive.
Yeah, it's a different game. And if you get like Duke, like with Coach K, I mean, part of the reason he looks good because all those great players go there. So he's never going to have I guess, Elon, talk about, I guess, Ewing now after all these years as assistant coach. Now he has a head coaching job in Georgetown.
Yeah, I agree. I hope it leads to an NBA coaching job. He totally deserves it. No one, I think, has paid their dues as much as he has and not gotten a head coaching shot. I think I saw that's where he's been an assistant in the NBA longer than anybody else without becoming like a head coach.
Head coach, yeah.
So it's great that he's at Georgetown now. It's a great program and everything, but that's just complete disrespect. He's a really good basketball mind. He's respected by players. I don't know why you can't give him the job, especially when you look at all the people the Knicks have hired over the years. Like the Knicks. Come on,
I know. So many coaches. It's give them a year. Like you said, like Jamie said, you give Herb Williams a couple of years. You can give you give Ewing a shot, man. Well,
Herb Williams must have some naked pictures of those.
That's what I said. Herb Williams, him and Isaiah Thomas, because Isaiah Thomas, remember, he technically never got fired from the Knicks. As he kind of disappeared. So there might be some dirt that that he knows on Dolan, but we're happy Patrick Ewing, great career, our favorite player, will always be my favorite player. Guys, thank you so much for making this happen. I appreciate you guys for joining me on this. So Elon, anything you got want to plug before we go?
No, people can just check out my Twitter at Elon Altman, Instagram at Elonstagram. Got a lot of Knicks content. Not really, but I'm saying that.
Yeah,
mostly stupid jokes, but we'll say it's all Knicks stuff. Sometimes it is. That's it. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Jamie, anything you want to plug before we go, bro?
Yeah, man. Check out my Sunday night show that I do at.
Where is this?
I wish.
Where is this? 2020, where this is.
I gotta go to Home Depot and pick up some fertilizer, man. So I appreciate you guys. This was a lot of fun.
No, I appreciate you guys. Definitely, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you, and hopefully we'll see you soon. And then hopefully the Knicks hopefully we can get over COVID and the Knicks could be playing at the Garden again. Who knows?
No doubt. All
right, man. All right, see y'all later, man. Take care.
Peace.
All right, guys, that was Elon Altman and Jamie Roberts. Follow them on their social medias. Follow us at Root for Laundry. Thank you for watching. My name is Johnny McDonald. Next week, another guest and another team. Have a good one.